welcome to this month's edition of Designed for Organization. My name is Tia Hunsperger and I am a senior designer at Closet Factory here in Colorado. And I am live from a different location than I normally am. I'm here in one of the offices at the Closet Factory showroom. And here in a moment, Kelly with Organized by Kelly is going to be joining me. And we're going to talk about around on social media where people are sharing the 5 things that they wouldn't do based on the knowledge in their career, in their industry. Kelly, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I am great. How are you today?
Oh, I finally got a light for this. And it won't stay lit, so here I am.
We're gonna,
as I am.
We'll work on that. My light might be a little bright today, but it's all good.
Hey, better bright than dark.
For sure, for sure. Well, Kelly, let's talk about the 5 things that we wouldn't do based on the knowledge that we have in our industries and our careers. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start because I think you have a few extras that you wanted to add.
I decluttered it. I narrowed it down. I really just have 5, but yes, I still think go for it.
But I think as we both go through, if we share one and we have some feedback or thoughts on the other, let's jump in and we'll have a little mini conversation about it.
Okay.
So, and I bet some of the things that we're both going to talk about are going to be the same, similar advice that we would give from both directions. But the first thing on my list is I wouldn't wait. You don't know how often I go into someone's house after we've completed a project and I've waited 5 years to do this project and I should have done it a long time ago. People never say, oh, I finished this project and I should have waited. So my first one is don't wait, just get the project started and let's do it, because you're never going to wish in the long run that you had waited longer. I bet you get similar feedback to that too, Kelly.
We do. And I would just add to that, it's for unpacking your home. People will get in, they'll do 80% of the work, 20% is left, and they'll wait a year or 2.
For sure.
And then they're, so don't wait. Just call us at the beginning.
Yeah.
And be done with it so you're not carrying that burden that whole time.
For sure.
So, yeah.
For sure.
It's a good one.
So my second one is being afraid of color. People, I think, oftentimes and color could be a dark color, a light color, a bright color, whatever that is. A lot of times people will ask in design, like, what do you think is going to be in style in 5 years, in 10 years, whatever that looks like. And my thought is always like, if you love it, you're going to love it, right? And so don't be afraid of like forward guessing what the trends are going to be. Pick what you like, pick what you love. And if you love it, you're going to still love it in 5 or 10 years, right? So don't overthink the design trends. Just pick the color that feels good in deep down in your belly and go with it.
I want to add something to that too. Are you familiar with the style called Hygge?
Yes.
I think that's how it is.
Yes.
Which is basically everything you love.
Yes.
And so that's basically what you're saying. Just do it Hygge style. Like, okay, you love it, then it works. It fits your style.
Yeah, and there used to be this picture that would float around online, and it was like the lavender house, and it was like this picture that would float around on social media, and literally everything in the house was some color of purple. And I'm like, that wouldn't be the choice for me, but there's some, I imagine it's a sweet little grandma, but it could be someone else that lives in that house and loves the fact that her dial telephone is purple and her rocking chair is purple and all the things are purple, right? And that's what she loves, and good for her. And just own it and love it and go with it. So that's my thought there. My third thing is not to overthink design. So sometimes I think people kind of overthink, like when I go in and I measure someone's closet space, I also do what we call an inventory, where I measure the amount of hanging space they're using, and I measure count how many pairs of shoes and handbags and on all of those things, and then I create a space that works for what their needs are. But sometimes people think, well, I might get another purse, or I might get some more shoes. There might be something different, or when I resell the house, there might be some different needs. And I think all of that should go into the thought process, but not to overthink it. When we design a space, our rods and shelves are all adjustable. So if you need something different in the future, we add some more shelves, we add some more rods, we adjust things, and we find a way to make it work. So I always encourage people, design for what you need now, and then call me if something changes, and we'll talk about how to adjust and make it work.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. My fourth one is to trust the expert. So if you're working with somebody, whether it's in design, organization, or something else, when you are meeting with someone that's an expert in their industry, if they share a thought or opinion, it's not that you necessarily have to follow their advice, but listen to it, because there's typically a reason why they're sharing their thoughts. And that ties into my fifth one, which you and I have talked about this in the past, Kelly, is not to let other people tell me what to do. And you and I had a conversation recently about purging. And I think that when I come in to meet someone and design their closet space or their home office or their garage storage, ultimately it's up to them. So they get to decide what they keep, what they purge. That's their choice. I'm not there to tell them one way or another. And then that other piece of listen to the expert of, if, like when I go into let's say I'm designing a primary closet for someone and they want 3/4 of the space for shoe shelves, I might say, that might not be the best solution for someone in the future. So let's consider how we can make this work for you now and make it adjust for the future homeowner of this house. So I think it's that combination of 4 and 5, like, don't let people tell you what to do, but yet listen to the expert at the same time.
Finding the balance in those.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Sure,
yeah.
For sure. Because the expert has a reason why they're telling you that perspective and thought, but yet ultimately you know what your true needs are.
Right.
And I think sometimes people think when you or I come in, we're going to tell them what to do with all their stuff. And for me, it's not at all that way. I'm saying, you tell me what you need, and then I'm going to tell you how we can best solve that. So those are my 5 things I kind of wouldn't do. Kelly, what are yours?
Okay, let's do this. My first one is start the project with the containers.
Okay.
We see this all the time, and someone's like, oh, I'm gonna go get organized, oh, I'm gonna update this space, and they go buy all the containers, but then the containers don't fit, or it doesn't fit what they had, or just all the little pieces.
But it's so easy to start with the containers, because you go to a store and you see this cute container and you're like, that's gonna look so great in my space. And I totally get why you shouldn't do that, but I totally get why people do that, because the container can be, it can inspire us to do the project.
Right, right. That can be totally inspiring. So yeah, don't start. The second one kind of goes with it, which is to buy tapered containers.
Okay.
I just cannot stand a tapered container. It is such a waste of space, and it adds visual clutter, and you will never see me buy tapered containers. Sometimes garage bins, they will taper just a touch.
Right, and that's, I think, so they stack properly. They have just a little bit of angle to them, but they're pretty close to square. Pretty close.
I don't know if you know this, but Container Store has, maybe I've told you this before, but they have the pretty much the only clear bin that you can purchase that is not tapered but does stack.
Nice.
And they own the rights on it.
Oh,
and so it's called Our Bin at Container Store. And it's a great little hidden treasure in Container Store. A lot of people don't know about them, and they're not very expensive, but you won't find that same feature anywhere else because they own the design. So,
well, here's a question for you. I have some What do you think of storing in hat boxes?
If it's inspiring and cute, then that can be fine. If it's for a function, no. That will never win for function, but it, sometimes there's balance. But,
I have a few, and yes, they don't totally fill up the space, but they on the very, very top shelf, things I don't get to very often, and they look
that can be cute.
Adorable.
Yes. So for that reason, yes. And tapered boxes just never look cute in my opinion. So there you go. My number 3 would never do is alphabetize, like spices and I don't know what else comes to my mind real quickly. If something's digital and in digital space, alphabetizing or names, things like that, sure, it makes a lot of sense. But in your home, there's very little that needs to be grouped alphabetically or sorted alphabetically.
The interesting thing about that, if you often will talk about categorizing things in zones, right? For me, spices are very much in layers, in the like micro zones, right? The things I use every day or every week, the things I use maybe a few times a month, and then the back row is the things like the pumpkin pie spice that I use in November and December, and then it sits in the back of the shelf the rest of the year. So when you said alphabetizing, like I could never do that because I'd never find what I want, because the things in the front are the things that's like the zone 1, the things I use every day or every week.
Yeah, and in a family, it just sets you up for failure, because you see a lot of times women want their spices alphabetized, but nobody's going to put them back that way. They're going to put them back in the zone, nearest place to drop it off, or
Yes, it is helpful when the grocery store has them in alphabetical order because you can find them when you need them.
Right.
But that's not how we go about utilizing things in our home. We go by what we need.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Number 4 is I never do buy anything without knowing where I'm going to store it. And that's a huge one for me. And I have very limited kitchen storage. And there are so many kitchen gadgets that I would love to have, but because I don't know where I would keep it, and I just don't want to commit to managing it in my garage or some random place, I just don't buy it. So I'm just always super careful. And I think that goes back to what you were talking about the closet and like the shoes, like they might have more shoes or something. Yeah, maybe a little bit you want to build for growth, but not too much, because you want to take something out when you bring something new. And so, a little balance of all of that. But that one keeps me out of a lot of trouble because I have very limited storage. I'm in an older home, like a lot of people in Denver, and they just, every square foot of my house is utilized, every single one, unless it's like the top of closets, like up too high, but the rest of it is all utilized. So if I don't know where I'm going to keep it, I don't want it.
Have you ever really wanted something, kind of come home and figured out a space for it and then purchased it?
I've done that. I'm pretty much out of space to do that at this point. I recently bought, such a funny thing, and I didn't need to, but a crepe maker.
Okay.
And you can totally make crepes on a pan. You really can do that. But it was like for a breakfast for my nephew and his birthday and all the stuff. I thought, oh, that would be fun. Like we can set it up like a bar kind of thing out here and like make your crepe and whatever. And I was like, I will find a place to store this. And so it's kind of like jammed in a cabinet right now, and it's my trigger. I'm going to have to go pull everything out and reorganize that space because it's too full. It's making me crazy. So something may have to go. And the crepe maker's tiny. It's like not big. And that's been a problem. So, I got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we plan and we put something in a space, sometimes we do have to live with it. This is a conversation I have with clients where I'll estimate how many shoes are going to fit on a shelf and how much shelf space they need, but they really need to kind of like move the shoes in and, you know, kind of unpack as you help them do into the space, and then decide, okay, I need this much additional space for my shoes, or I can move these closer together, and it works fine. So I think sometimes, as much as we try to plan, we don't really know until we've done it and it doesn't work. Or we move in and we're like, oh, I have plenty of room. I can add another shelf for shoes in the space and it's going to work. It's going to work great. So I think sometimes that comes with practice and experience.
I think so too. And I think, like, while I say we never start with the containers and bins, but sometimes you do have to start with the structure of the closet. And so that's one way that you and I do things very differently. You come in front end and create the system for what they already have there.
Correct.
That's helpful, because if there's nowhere to even go with it, then, you know, of course you have to start there. But for exactly what you're saying, we used to go out and measure and make a plan and coordinate the whole thing and pick all the product up and show up with the bins. Never. So many variables would change throughout the project. Then we're just taking all of them back and starting over.
Right.
You know what? Just wait till later. But yeah, it's definitely a piece of all of that.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about, I go in and I talked about, measure the space, and I do the inventory. Sometimes it's someone who's just moving in, and I know there's more coming. And on the other side of that, sometimes it's people say, well, I'm going to purge, my job has changed, I don't need this. And so I often will say, okay, out of what I see, what percentage of this goes in the new closet? And maybe they're like, okay, I'm going to get rid of a third of this. Okay, great. And sometimes it's like, this is 50% of what needs to go in the closet, because the rest is in boxes and storage or whatever. So I try to use that percentage to at least give me kind of an idea of what I see, and then how that relates to what the end of the project needs, because I don't, you know, I'll use this story that I share with a lot of clients is, most people that I meet with when I come in, they say, I have a lot of shoes. And I'll say, how many is a lot? Because some people think having, you know, 6 or 8 pairs of shoes is a lot. And for some people that is, don't get me wrong. But I also did a whole storage room for a woman who had over 350 pairs of shoes. And we did a room full of shelves for her shoe collection. And that's something that was important to her. And she loved the space and this, you know, collection that she was very proud of. And so when someone says a lot, right? Like that ranges a lot based on their personal needs. And, you know, we, you know, to have, let's say, 8 pairs of running shoes might be a lot, but for people that are training for a marathon, 8 pairs of shoes might be the minimum, because they're, you know, working through those so quick. So everyone's needs are so different. And that's the great fun part about my job. Although every day I'm talking about closets and, you know, building out spaces, everybody's needs are different. And I learn all kinds of interesting things about people.
Definitely. So true. So true. That's why we can't just make a recipe for how you do a closet.
Right.
They're all different.
Yeah.
So
it is. And I often will ask people questions, and I sometimes think that they think I'm prying in their personal lives. And it's, no, I'm not prying. I'm just like, I need to know like how you're going to use this space. And I don't care what the answer is. I just want to make sure that my plan matches up with how you see the answer to the question, you know, resulting in that. So
yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure, you know, Kelly, we talked about a little bit about this the other day, is you're not telling people what to do as much as you're helping them with whatever they want the resolution to be, right?
Right. We're just finding out their vision, and then they don't have to worry about how to get there.
Right.
We'll figure out how to get there. They just have to know what they want. And sometimes they don't even know that much, or they don't think they do. And then we can kind of help figure that piece out as
Sure.
well. But yeah, no, we're not telling them what to do. My number 5
Yes.
is save things that I might need or that someone I know might need. All those mights can really add up. And one thing you and I talked about recently is the $25 rule of thumb. And you can set your own, whatever that might be. But if it's less than $25 and you might need it someday, you might just want to go get it when you need it or Amazon it when you need it.
Right. Because
things do cost energy and time and money to manage. And so it might cost you more than $25 over the next 5 years in time, energy, and money to keep that item, where you could have just been lighter and less to manage, less to deal with, and just get it when you need it. And another piece about that is just borrowing it. Like my neighborhood, we just borrow and trade and loan all sorts of random might need things. But then I see clients sometimes that love to help. And so they accumulate everything in case someone might need it. And then they suffer because they're the ones stuck managing all of that just to have that thing someone might need. Like, let them manage their own when they need it. Just get yours to a good place. So,
yeah, I think that's, we, as people who want to support and help other people, sometimes we're like, oh, this is the perfect solution. But maybe that person isn't ready for it. They're not, it's not their priority. So it's like, pass it on. And that when I heard that thing, when you and I were talking the other day and we talked about the $25 number, whatever that is, like if it's less than whatever your comfortable dollar amount is, and that at any point a store is, like, realistically, I don't know how much the crepe maker was, but realistically, a store always has a crepe maker. So in the future, if you needed a crepe maker, you could probably find one, right?
This is true, because I think it was like $25. Like, it was not a big thing. So that's very true. One other thing I just want to say about this part, and where it's really fresh on my mind, I spoke with a lady a few weeks ago, and she's a foster mom.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of mites
that
come in foster. But the interesting thing is, everyone she knows has been donating bins of clothing and items and different things for different ages of kids. So now she is overwhelmed with donations for potential fosters. But she might only get 12-year-olds, or she might, we don't know. And when we were looking into all of this, we were talking about thousands of dollars to organize all of these items that might be needed. And I told her, like, maybe the better solution is that you donate these, and then as you need those items,
for sure,
source them. You might spend less money and less headache to do that. But I know when you get a foster, it's really quick, and it's a tough one to figure out what to do with. But and I told you, just at the end of the day, you've got to have a boundary on it. Like, how much is what you are comfortable managing?
For sure.
And that's
sure. And I could see, like, a boundary around that being like, okay, I need a couple of days for a boy and a girl in these different sizes, and you pack it away, and you have a toddler box for a girl and a toddler box for a boy, and that's it. You've got, and at that point, you can go out and get what you need. But that immediately, when those kids first come to her house, something for them to, kind of immediately have, I could see, setting that boundary of like, okay, I need a few days worth or whatever that timing is, but anything beyond that is too much, right?
Yeah. I wanted to start a warehouse somewhere that's just like for foster parents to just, swap out the things, because I can imagine like it'd just be a constant need, but she can't manage it all in her laundry room.
Right. Totally.
That's tough.
Yeah, for sure. And she's got to figure out what her comfort level is. And there's like this anxiety and worry piece around it, right? Of like, do I have the right things, but is it too much and overwhelming? And finding that balance of like feeling like, okay, at any moment I can get a call and I can take the kid that needs, you know, a home for tonight, without having to worry about, can I put them in a, you know, a clean set of clothes while I wash the clothes they come in, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, a lot of stuff around that. So
yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of us are, whether that's, you know, she's in that foster situation. I think you and I have talked about this, Kelly. I ran a nonprofit for a number of years that gives away prom gowns to teens in financial need, and it's prom season. So if you know a teen in financial need that needs a prom gown, go online and look for Bella Boutique and sign up and go get that. But with that, I would say we would get a lot of beautiful dresses donated. But we'd also get some that weren't the right thing. And it's that whole choice of like, okay, what do we do with these? How do we utilize this? How do we best honor the people that have donated them? And really kind of finding that balance of having the right thing for the client, but not kind of over storing that in the business environment that we had, where we're paying more for storage to manage things that, you know, probably wouldn't ever get selected because they were too casual. Or although some people come in and like vintage, there's a small percentage of older vintage dresses that are going to go, and most are going to want something more contemporary. So I can see how that story about the foster mom would relate in so many different areas. And I think, you know, who it is that we work with as individuals. I'm sure there's coaches out there that every time they go to Goodwill and see a pair of cleats, they're buying them for the kid that might come on their sports.
Oh, teachers.
The cleats, right?
The collections teachers end up with for all the maybe good things. It's, yes, teachers and coaches and home health care people. They end up with a lot.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, before we wrap up today, anything else on the top of the I wouldn't do list before we wrap up?
Only one thing. I can't say I wouldn't do it, but I wish that people wouldn't.
Okay.
And I think it kind of goes with the weight, but it's the feel shame in asking for help. Just ask. Just get the help. Just have someone come unpack you, have someone come organize your things, have someone come take your disaster of a closet and put the structure in that it needs. Like, it's kind of the don't wait, but it's also just the don't feel shame about it. You know, you see like on Instagram or whatever, and it's all these women that do like waxing, and they're like, guys, we don't care. We see this all the time.
Yes.
We don't care. Same. Like, we see this all the time. We don't care. Don't feel bad. Don't feel shame. Let's just do the thing.
I'm sure it's like this for you too, Kelly, but sometimes when I come in, people will say, I'm sorry, I didn't clean up before you came. And I'm like, no. Don't clean up before I came, because I need to see like how you live, what works, what doesn't work, because that's going to better help me help you, knowing that like if there's a hamper and you never get the clothes in the hamper because you have to open the lid, then we shouldn't design a hamper with a door or a lid on it. You just need a bin that you can throw your things in, right? And that's just one example, but like, don't change, like just have us come and look at how the space is, and then we can help with, you know, ideas and solutions to better solve.
Definitely. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right, guys. Well, if there's anything that you have a question about that we talked about today, send us a message, a comment down below. And if you have ideas of something you'd like us to talk about next month, send us a message and we will put that on the agenda. Otherwise, guys, it's spring, right? So I'm going to say happy spring cleaning. If you need some help with cleaning or organize, call Kelly or I, and we'll come out and talk about how we can help with your project.
Awesome.
Guys, have a great month.
Bye, Tia.
Bye.